Hello, everyone. Today, we have the absolute pleasure of being joined by Bob Shannon, who is the CEO of Assured Performance 360. Bob, how are you doing today?
We're doing great. Happy to be here. Thank you for
Absolutely.
having us. Yeah.
No problem. Pleasure is all mine to have you on. Really excited to dive into your background, your journey, all things business, and hopefully we can all learn a thing or two from you. So without further ado, shall we make a start?
Okay.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Amazing. So, Bob,
Mm.
could you take us to where it all began, right? At the early stages of your career, perhaps even childhood and teenage years growing up. What got you into what you're doing now? What does your journey look like to get to the position you're in today?
Well, if I had to go back and think about it, it's all the things in my life that's prepared me for this. If you'd have told me when I was 18 I'd be doing what I'm doing today, my parents and myself would have laughed out loud because, yeah, it just didn't seem like it was um, a destination. But my parents, when I was younger, due to injury to my dad, he got hit by a car, couldn't work anymore. This is in the early 70s. And my mom went into working at a grocery store. And so she started working at a grocery store back in the 70s, and upward mobility from women in the workplace to go into management just didn't exist like they do today. I mean, it happened, but it was not uh, often. So with that, she got into the business, was in a Warren Business School where she got her business degree, associates. She bought a store in the middle of Virginia back in the mountains. And I remember when we were stocking the shelves of the store, she was teaching me how to stock the shelves, make sure all the products facing to the front, make sure there's plenty of room to grab the bottles, especially if it's glass, because if they pick it up and they drop the glass, then that's just a loss. And so I got my business acumen from my mom. And, you know, when we were putting that store together, I remember the day. Now, I moved from the city in Ohio to the middle of nowhere in Virginia back in the mountains. So that was culture shock for me. And, but anyway, I remember the day we were doing that, and she says, "I can't wait till we sell this place." I'm like, "What are we doing here? Let's just sell it now, move back to Ohio. We'll do whatever I have to do." And she goes, "No, everything we have is invested in this store. We have to make it work. This is our retirement." And by golly, she did it. And her and my dad, and he's 93. They sold that in 80, 83. He's now 93 and still living out the proceeds of that sell. I always had a business sense. I didn't like working for other people. I just liked working for myself. So as soon as I got out of high school, got into construction, had a background working with the Amish and Mennonites, learning how to build cabinets and build houses. And I started my own construction business, and I ran that for a while. I got into the fire service, where I spent 30 some years, which really helped me with leadership and organizational development. And that's really where in 2013, I had issues. All of a sudden, the whole leadership thing wasn't working. I was a good manager, but it wasn't functioning well as a leader. So that's how I got into leadership development. And I got into some good network out of Texas, and we use a program called High Performance. And I got into that, and within 30 days, I had people ask me, "What are you doing differently? And can you show me?" And that's how it all started, 2013. Fast forward is what, 2025. We work with all types of organizations. We're industry agnostic. We jokingly say we work with any industry that has people in it, which is common today. I don't know how that's going to be a few years from now, including myself. But it's been great. There's nothing better than to watch an organization turn around, hit the achievements that they want, see people enjoy going to work and enjoying their time at work as much as they enjoy their time off work. So it's just a lot of reward in that, well beyond making a living.
That's amazing. Amazing story there, Bob. Thank you for that. Now, what part of that journey was the hardest part, right? I know you've done lots of different things and, but what part of that journey do you think you learned the most? You evolved, as a person, as an entrepreneur. What was the part of that journey that you look back on and feel the most proud of having gone through that difficult time? Maybe if you can take us through a difficult moment or difficult time, which you really persevered through and you came out better on top?
Oh, absolutely. That's what got me into leadership development. The realization that, I'm a baby boomer. I worked with all boomers and throughout my entire career. And then all of a sudden, the workforce had changed. I didn't recognize it. I didn't know what was going on. I was just a good manager. And, you know, you lead people, but you manage processes and procedures. I was really good at that. It's the leading part that I didn't really have the skill set around. And so I was set for being promoted and had an issue that I didn't handle well. And I spoke with, my boss at the time, and I said, if I can't handle my own crew, I have no business running a division. And so I stepped away from that. And that was a pivotal moment. Two things. One, personal accountability. It's nobody else's fault but mine. It's embracing reality. The reality is I'm the common denominator, so I have to fix myself. These are things I learned now that I didn't know then. And that's how I help people through that. I use that experience to work with people. And so it was very powerful. It truly is. It's like overcoming any obstacle in life. But then the next challenge was, okay, I was really working in emergency management. So how do I transition to business? How do I use those relatable skills in business through work of people? I did have business skills, business acumen, again, from my parents. The network that I'm surrounded with, we work in all industries. That was a bit of a challenge, but the biggest challenge was for me to accept myself as a expert in that area. We're talking about organizational culture, and organizational culture is delivered through leadership. And again, it's just people. You lead the people. And once I understood that myself, I could relay that to others. They could see the transformation in other clients. And so that was the two biggest hurdles. But here we are today.
Amazing. Now, Bob, if we can talk more on the market side of things now, obviously there's so much going on now in the industry, the market, technology, shifts that are happening. So what is your overall perspective on the current market, the shifts that are happening, technology that's coming out, and the way people are doing business now, and how teams even operate, leaders, managers, etc.? How do you think those shifts are going to pan out in the next few years to come? And how can business owners really navigate these constant changes that are happening, news that's coming out, and regulations changing, and now there's a tariffs and all the changes that are happening? How can somebody actually navigate these, in your opinion?
Well, there's a lot in that question. So let's start with the navigation part. Any industry at any time, you always have to have the growth mindset, and the growth mindset means that we're constantly looking for ways to achieve and learn and grow. Whether now with AI and this acceleration that's happening, it's a little more challenging for most organizations because the growth is happening fast. So the first challenge is one, to accept a growth mindset and understand that the world isn't going to wait for you, so you better get on board. That's the first thing. The second is surround yourself with people that understand it. Most business owners were brought into a business because they're good at whatever that business does, whether it was service, product, service delivery, or combination of both. They were really good at that. And so now you have to surround yourself not only with your typical executive team that handles that type of business, but now you also have to look at a new industry that's addressing AI and the impact it's having. So that's the two things: one, growth mindset; two, surround yourself with good people. Those are things we already knew. So there's nothing new there. But the third thing is the unknown. How's that going to impact my workforce, especially 3 to 5 years from now? And that is definitely causing some stress in the workplace, which is causing people to have concern. What's this look like 5 years down the road? Because, am I still going to have a job? That part. So that socioeconomic impact that's going to have as a business owner, it's a concern. You need to map out a plan, surround yourself with people that are really in the industry of AI, and much like yourself, that understands this. How's it going to impact all of us? And make a plan for that, because it's really impacting organizations today. That's what we see.
Amazing. Now, another topic to dive into, Bob, is really around, because this is something a lot of people struggle with, and something yourself have been through and you've come out on top. But it's around the area of sales, right? Sales and making those networks and making those relationships and getting in front of the right people and how to present yourself in the best way. So what do you think, what are some best practices you've seen in that aspect? What are some advice perhaps you have for people in that thing? And what kind of pitfalls and mistakes do you see people keep making? And how can they avoid that in your experience and your expertise working with so many businesses from small, medium, and even large? What is your overall take on that aspect? How can people actually stand out in today's market that's so crowded?
Well, I think you just touched on it. It all starts with relationships and understanding that no matter what position you're in or what organization you're in, small, medium, large startup, acquisition, merger, it's all about relationships. And you don't take a day off as far as building relationships. Yes, you take a day off from work, you spend time with your family, those type of things, but you should always be building relationships, not to manipulate them, but the growth mindset that how can I help you? How can I help you grow? We're building a relationship together. We don't know where this is going to end or where it's going to take us. And so we're always building relationships. And no matter what industry you're in, what level you're in, you always have to build relationships. And if you're having, so there's two parts of that. If you do have a relationship that has been fractured for some reason, and whatever it is, we talk about the the intent, which is the principle of intent. So let's just say you and I had a discussion. We've been longtime business associates, got a good working relationship. Something has happened. Something has fractured that, and we both feel it. Well, the principle of intent is when we're above the line, we have the intent to grow and learn from it, accept our responsibility, reach out and have a conversation. How do we rebuild that relationship? Because the world, even with AI, is still going to be interdependent upon people having a relationship with other people. And AI will impact that at some point, but we're still people. We're still humans on this planet. So as long as that's true, we'll always have that. So that principle of intent, above the line is growth mindset, accepting our own responsibility. We live with purpose. We're fulfilling not only our goals in life, what we value, but we're also helping others get that. And then below the line is the principle of defense or defending or denial, where we don't mind if we've lost a relationship. We don't really care. We just move on to the next one. It's all about manipulation to get what I want, not what is good for both, looking for the win-win outcomes. And that is the principle of defense, or we call it below the line behavior. And so it starts with that. And it will always be about that. What is your intent? Is your intent to grow, or is it your intent to harm and manipulate? And so when we have those relationships, we're always building them. And if sometimes things happen, but the biggest thing is being able to pick up the phone or go have a conversation in person, which is what we recommend the most. Or even on Zoom, can have a conversation in person and mend that fence or find out, accept responsibility. And for whatever part of it was their fault. So anyway, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think in the world of AI now and everything's digital, people can send an email, right, instead of having that conversation, or people can send a
Right.
text instead of making that phone call, or people can jump on a Zoom call instead of perhaps meeting up, even if they're in the same city. So I think that the power of conversation, the power of network is slowly losing its value because there's so many tools now that are making it more convenient. But I think there's a power in doing it the right way, in the old school way of actually being face to face and building those relationships. That's something you can't really replace easily, and it goes a very long way. So,
It does, yeah.
definitely to your point. Absolutely.
It'll be interesting to see what technology brings us in the next decade. We look at some of the technology that has been helping people with, Lou Gehrig's disease. That's amazing advancements in that, as far as putting some type of processor in people's minds that help them communicate. What is going to happen with the people with spinal cord injuries, that now they have technology in the development phase that will bridge that gap, and is very promising. So there's a lot of great things coming in the world of AI and advancing technology. There's a lot of great things coming. And so often we get focused on, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me? But to your point, there's face-to-face communication is always the best. That dialogue, always having a dialogue with other people.
Absolutely. Now, can we focus more in now on the business side of things, right? Talking all things business, maybe diving in a little bit of what the business does, exactly who you do work with, in more detail for people that don't really know. And what are some areas of the business that perhaps are going really well, and some strengths, or could be anywhere across the business? And what are some challenges you're perhaps having within the business, some hurdles, some challenges, or perhaps even in the past, and how have you overcame them and come out even better and come out on top?
Well, the biggest challenge is communicating what it is we do. And we say we work with organizations to develop their culture, and leadership or culture is delivered by leadership at three different levels: personal, team, and organizational leadership. And it's all built around what we just talked about: relationships, effective communications, the intent and the principle of intent, effective communications, building dialogue. And but the biggest hurdle I have is to try to express what it is we do and who do we work best with. And in fact, just yesterday, I had a lengthy conversation about that. One of my colleagues that was saying, well, I really don't know any businesses that are having trouble with their culture. And I said, that's fantastic. They don't have to have trouble for us to help them. What we do in that case is just ask them some simple questions. What is your culture? And let them tell me what it is. If they can't identify what it is, then it's culture by default. It's whatever happens in the workplace, we just accept it. So that leads them to, when something goes wrong, they don't know how to fix it because it's culture by default. So then it must be, we'll just wait till somebody fixes it, which typically doesn't happen. It normally just continues to get worse. It's like any other ailment that a human would have. Organizations have the same thing. So we work with them in a proactive way instead of reactive. So, and in fact, I might just use that now that we talk through that. It's the proactive side of it. What is your mission, vision, value statement? What are your core values? What are those illicit behaviors that you desire from all of your people within your organization? And map those out, which is what we do. Even in organizations, one of my clients right now, a very high performing organization, they just want to get better. You know, how do we, in fact, the CEO says, well, I don't know if it broke, I could fix it. And I said, well, that's what we do. Let us help you map that out. So once we have those mission, vision, values aligned out, the behaviors, and we work with their leadership at all levels to reinforce the skills of leadership, not theory. There's plenty of theory out there. I got to do a Google search, you'll find theories, but we teach the actual skills and we break it down into four components we call the leadership power quadrant, which is very powerful. You do these four things and pay attention to them, you're going to be just fine. Your people are going to be engaged. They're going to be highly motivated and have a high degree of satisfaction in the workplace. So it's leadership power quadrant along with the core values, culture by design. And then we package it into a systematic approach. So they have a strategy around building it, refining it, and monitoring it to make sure that they always have the culture that they're looking for. That's what we do. And but the biggest hurdle is getting people to understand that you don't have to have a crisis to see value in what we do.
Absolutely.
That's our biggest hurdle. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No one needs an umbrella till it starts raining. You know, that's the saying, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yes. But you better know where one's at. I live in the desert and there's one hanging in the back of my truck.
You never know. Absolutely. Now, but what does the future look like for the business? I know, you know, you've come a very long way. You're really successful, but perhaps there's bigger and bigger goals. So personally, right, talking just about yourself, what are some goals? Right, what do you want to achieve, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? And business-wise, you know, what does the business growth look like next? 6 months, 12 months. What are some goals on the vision board that you sort of want to look back on and think, I'm very proud I achieved that?
Well, on the first and foremost on the business side is to expand locally. It seems like most of our clients are out of town. I don't know why that is, but I have a consultant friend of mine in Texas, Houston of all places, energy capital of the world. All of his clients are on the East Coast. I don't know why this works this way. It's just like you have to travel somewhere to be of value. I'm not sure why that is, but my goal is to grow more business here locally within Las Vegas, Southern Nevada, out of the Southwest region of the United States, and we have a plan in place to expand what I just described about the leadership power quadrant. It is very powerful and it's one of the biggest hurdles organizations have is constantly sending their people to training all the time. And I had one CEO ask me, so he just said, just tell me the 4 things they need to know. And I'm like, well, glad you asked. I know what those 4 things are. And so we can come in and work with an organization within a week, a little bit of pre-work, come in within a week and deliver on target a program that's going to leave lasting results. And I think it's one of the things we talked about yesterday. As long as the organization has a true desire to embrace what they're learning, because if they don't, it ain't going to save your time, save your time and money, because it isn't going to work. So when they have that true desire, so we want to, the goal is expand that locally. Now we will travel anywhere, it's as long as just finding those companies. So we want to expand that program. And then we also want to expand our supervisory skills certification program. There's a lot of organizations promote people based on technical skills, but they're really not certified or have management or leadership skills. So delivering that program here locally as well. And what we'd like to do within the next 3 to 5 years is to grow both of that locally and nationally, and then also bring on more staff working with us so that I can focus more on building the business, not working on the business.
Amazing, amazing. Now, Bob, just to, I guess, wrap up on, what is the biggest piece of advice you've ever received from somebody? Could be a business partner, a mentor, a family even, or perhaps the biggest lesson you've had to learn in your journey to get to the position you're in. What's the sort of biggest factor that you can look back on and think, I'm glad I went through that? What's the sort of the biggest lesson, would you say, for somebody listening in?
Okay, well, 2 things about that. One, we already discussed the turning point and the realization that, I'm the common denominator for everyone. You are in control of your life. It's how you respond. It's not how you react to something. It's how do you respond? Do you respond? What's your intent? My intent is to respond, to grow. I know I can handle whatever it is that's thrown at me. It's just how do I have to have the right mindset around that? And one of my colleagues, Wallace Long, he's out of Chicago. He's got offices in Chicago, Atlanta, and Baton Rouge. No, Biloxi, of all places, Biloxi, Mississippi. And so he's got 3 offices. He does a lot of work, and he's got, I believe, a master's in psychology. And when I first met him, he just came up to me after the conference, and he asked me where I was at, what am I doing, and we spoke for a while. And he goes, "You have no idea how powerful you are." I said, "Excuse me, I'm a new business partner." He goes, "You have no idea how powerful you are, do you?" I said, "No, not really. I don't." He goes, "Neither do most people." He goes, "You are in charge of your destiny." And there's been plenty of books written about that. And the biggest takeaway from that was, one, I didn't feel worthy to hear that. Just yourself. You're very powerful. We tap into, what is it, like 30% of what our brain's capabilities are. So if you just go to another and look at the success a lot of people have with just 30%. But but his point is for me to understand that I don't need somebody else to tell me that my value. Once you understand what your value proposition is and what you want to do, my goal in life is my mission statement is to make it better. Whatever it is that we're working on, it could be this podcast, it could be, our future work, make it better and leave it with that. Always lead with that, rather. So that was the second thing, was learning how powerful people really are, and don't be afraid of it. And that's the second thing that I learned was from him. Do not be afraid of the power you have. A lot of people are. If you sit back and you think about it, and you think about some of the things that you may or may not have done in life, a lot of it you didn't do because of fear. And imagine what you could do, or what you would have done, had fear not been, the fear of failure was not there. You would have done it. And that's the biggest thing, is there's no such thing as failure. It's just growing. So anyway, that's the second biggest thing.
Amazing. Well, Bob, thank you so much. I've really had a pleasure speaking to you. So much value you've provided and amazing insight. So big thank you from me. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have. and I'm sure everybody listening has really enjoyed and learned a thing or two. Is there any closing comments from yourself, Bob? Perhaps, partners, business partners, clients, etc., who are watching, in any final comments or anything you'd like to just say before we do wrap up?
Well, appreciate you having me on today, and I appreciate everybody that's listening to the podcast. People truly are powerful. They just really don't embrace it fully. And I'm sure there'll be a contact information that you'll provide if anybody would like to reach out to me.
Yeah.
Just send me an email, and we'll get in touch.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bob, thank you very much, and thanks to everyone who's tuned in. We'll catch everyone next time. Bye-bye.